Section 1. Origins of Azeroth and the First Mortal Kingdoms. Before the world dreamed. Before the banners of the Alliance or the Horde ever stirred, there was only silence in the great dark beyond, the cosmic sea between worlds. Among its drifting lights formed Azeroth, a nascent planet whose core held an unborn world soul, a titan of unmatched potential. The titans of the Pantheon, led by Aman'Thul, heard the faint pulse of that soul and resolved to protect it. But when they looked closer, they found corruption already burrowed deep within. The tendrils of the old gods, servants of the Void Lords who sought to twist the Titan embryo into a dark god. To save Azeroth, the Pantheon dispatched their servants, the mighty Titan Forged, creations shaped from metal, stone, and storm, to cleanse and reorder the world. Under leaders such as Odin, Ra, Loken, and Freya, the Titan Forge defeated the elemental lords, imprisoned the old gods beneath the crust, and sealed the raging elementals into their own planes. This event, known as the Ordering of Azeroth, marked the first true peace of the planet. Stone, children of stone and storm. To maintain this ordered world, the Keepers shaped living caretakers from Azeroth's raw matter. The Earthen, built to carve mountains and halls. The Vrykul, fashioned as powerful warriors. The Tol'vir and Mogu, guardians of desert and empire alike. The Mechanomes, tireless archivists of Titan designs. But the victory over corruption carried a hidden flaw, the curse of flesh. This affliction, seeded by the old gods' lingering influence, slowly transformed Titan-forged creations into mortal beings of sinew and blood. From this slow metamorphosis, entire peoples emerged. The dwarves from the Earthen, the humans from the Vrykul who had cast away their malformed children, the Gomes from Mechanomes that learned imperfection was part of life. Based on what we know, the Titans never foresaw this change, but it may have been the world soul's own defense, a way for life to adapt beyond the reach of pure order or chaos. Tree, the first empire and the echo of eternity. Far across the world, another race discovered power not from Titans, but from the planet's own heart. Primitive dark trolls dwelling near the Well of Eternity were bathed in its arcane radiance. Over generations, they evolved into the Kaldorei, or Night Elves. They built an empire around the well's shimmering waters. Under Queen Ashara and her highborn court, marble cities rose across Kalimdor. The Night Elves worshipped Elune, whom they believed watched them through the moon's reflection upon the well. Their civilization thrived for millennia, until curiosity outgrew restraint. Ashara's highborn experimented with the well's energies until their spells reached beyond the stars. In the infinite dark, something answered. Fire, the war of the ancients and the sundering. That answer came from Sargeras, once the Titan champion of the Pantheon, now corrupted and determined to unmake all creation. Drawn by the well's beacon, his burning legion invaded Azeroth. Night Elf defenders, aided by Malfurion Stormrage, Tyrant Whisperwind, the Dragonflights, and mortal allies, fought desperately to repel the demons. When the well finally collapsed under their counterspell, its implosion shattered the supercontinent. The oceans rushed in, the skies burned. This cataclysm became known as the Sundering, leaving behind the continents of Kalimdor, Northrend, Eastern Kingdoms, and the hidden Pandoria. Ashara and her highborn were swallowed by the sea, transformed by N'Zoth's whispers into the Naga.
The remaining Night Elves, burdened by guilt, swore to abandon arcane magic and guard what remained of their world beneath the boughs of new forests. For 10,000 years, they lived in seclusion, silent witnesses to the dawn of younger races. X. The dawning of mortal kingdoms. In the east, descendants of the Vrykul spread across fertile plains. Their tribes united under King Thoradin to form the first human empire, Arathor, with its capital at Strom. When the savage Amani trolls threatened the High Elves of Quel'Thalas, Thoradin allied his people with them. Together, they forged victory in the Troll Wars, and their bond gave rise to the first human-elf alliance, centuries before the word alliance would become a faction name. The humans learned magic from the elves, founding the Order of Terrasfall to guard against demonic influences. Across Arathor's lands, new city-states emerged: Lordaeron, Stromgarde, Gilneas, Kul Tiras, and far to the south, Stormwind. These were the first threads of cooperation that later defined the modern alliance: unity, faith, and shared defense. Meanwhile, on distant shores, the Tauren followed the paths of their ancestors, honoring balance between Earth Mother and Sky Father. The troll tribes hunted in scattered territories, keeping memories of an older world alive. This could imply that the Horde's eventual spirit, kinship born of survival rather than conquest, already lingered in those wandering clans. Moon. Reflections before the wars. Thus Azeroth settled into a fragile equilibrium. The Night Elves watched from their forests. The dwarves carved beneath mountains. Humans built spires upon plains that had once been sea. In the stillness, the planet breathed, a moment's calm before destiny stirred again. The light warmed chapel stones in the east. Primal drums echoed through western hills. And deep below, imprisoned old gods dreamed of freedom. Peace on Azeroth was never a promise, only an interlude.
Section 2. The Sundering and the Birth of Division. The world shattered. When the Well of Eternity imploded at the end of the War of the Ancients, the single landmass of Kalimdor split apart. The new seas poured in, forming Northrend, Pandaria, the Eastern Kingdoms, and the remains of Western Kalimdor. At the center of the wound spun a vast whirlpool, the Maelstrom, born from the well's unstable energies. The Kaldore who survived awoke to ruin. Their empire was gone, their immortality uncertain, and the Legion's fires still smoldered on the horizon. Turning from the arcane. Guided by Malfurion's Stormrage and Tyrande Whisperwind, the Night Elves renounced the arcane arts that had nearly destroyed the world. They devoted themselves to Elune and to the balance of nature guarded by the dragon aspects. Upon the slopes of Mount Hyjal, Malfurion planted a seed from the mother tree Ganhir. From it grew Nordrassil, the first world tree. Alexstrasza blessed it with life. Nosdormu granted the Kaldore immortality. Ysera bound its roots to the Emerald Dream. Thus began the long vigil, 10,000 years of watchfulness to ensure the Legion would never return. Based on what we know, this withdrawal was as much penitence as protection. The Kaldore sought silence to atone for the pride that had summoned ruin. Purple exile of the Highborn. A number of Highborn refused to abandon their magic. Led by Dathramar Sunstrider, they defied Malfurion's decree and continued their spellcasting. When their arrogance sparked tempests over Hyjal, Malfurion banished them. The exiles crossed the Great Sea and landed upon the northern continent, what mortals later called the Eastern Kingdoms. There they founded Quel'Thalas and, using a vial of the well's waters, created a new font of power, the Sunwell.
Bathed in sunlight instead of moonlight, the Highborn's appearance changed. They became the High Elves, or Quel'Dore. They worshipped the sun, honored arcane mastery, and for the first time built a civilization apart from Elun's grace. Their exile marked the first major sundering of a single race into separate peoples, a pattern Azeroth would repeat many times. Dragons, an age of recovery. While elves rebuilt, the rest of the world healed in quieter ways. The Tauren wandered the plains, honoring the Earth Mother. The Troll empires, Zandalar, Amani, and Gurubashi, re-established temples to their Loa. The dragons, diminished yet vigilant, guarded Nordrassil and the Emerald Dream. In the far north, Vrykul tribes grew harsh. Some abandoned their weak offspring, unknowingly giving rise to the first humans. Each race recovered separately, and through that separation developed its own identity. This could imply that division itself became a force of creation, each people finding strength in solitude. Silence of 10 millennia. During the long vigil, the Night Elves guarded Hyjal in secrecy. They built Moonglade sanctuaries for druids who walked between the waking world and the dream. Centuries passed without the Kaldore meeting another major civilization. Meanwhile, east of the Maelstrom, human tribes multiplied. Dwarves and gnomes emerged from Titan halls, shaping new kingdoms in stone and snow. To the Kaldore, these races were fleeting sparks. To the humans, the elves of legend were myths half-remembered. When the Kaldore finally re-entered world affairs in the Third War, they discovered a world of equals rather than pupils, an adjustment that would shape their later alliances. Earth, echoes of future factions. Long before banners, philosophies divided Azeroth. Malfurion's discipline and devotion to order foreshadowed the ideals that would define the Alliance: unity, faith, and restraint. Dathramar's defiance and pursuit of freedom reflected the future Horde's spirit of independence and self-determination. Though separated by millennia, these attitudes would resurface whenever Azeroth faced choice between cooperation and autonomy. Poke between heartbeats. When the world finally quieted, forests reclaimed ruins, and the Maelstrom whispered where the well had been. For the first time in ages, Azeroth slept. The Kaldore kept their vigil beneath the moon. Elsewhere, mortals dreamed of kingdoms yet unbuilt. Peace lingered, but only as the breath before another story.
Section 3. Rise of Humanity and the First Alliance. From the children of the Vrykul. Long after the Sundering reshaped the world, the mighty Vrykul still dwelt in the frozen halls of Northrend. When their infants began to be born smaller and weaker, many Vrykul chiefs called the children cursed. Some abandoned them to the cold. Others, quietly merciful, hid them in southern lands. Those abandoned offspring learned to survive. They tamed fire, forged bronze, and gathered in roaming clans across what would become the Arathi Highlands and Tirisfal Glades. Generations later, these descendants were known as humans, not carved by titans, but shaped by endurance. Their early cultures revered spirits of storm and stone. Based on what we know, those primitive rites reflected faint memories of their Vrykul ancestors' reverence for elemental forces and personal honor. The unification of Arathor. Centuries passed before the scattered tribes joined under one banner. A warrior king named Thoradin united the clans through pact and conquest, founding the first human empire, Arathor. At its heart rose the fortress city Strom, carved from the highland rock. Thoradin taught discipline and law where chaos had ruled, binding his people into something greater than bloodline. From these beginnings grew humanity's first true nation and the ideal that strength could come from unity rather than isolation. The Troll Wars. To the north lay the Amani Empire, a vast domain of forest trolls once unrivaled on the continent.
Their power waned after the Sundering when the Highborn exiles founded Quel'Thalas within ancestral troll lands. For millennia the Amani waited, nursing vengeance. When they rose at last, their legions burned the elven forests. Desperate, the High Elves appealed to Arathor for aid, offering to share the secrets of arcane magic if humans would fight beside them. Thoradin agreed. Human armies marched north, led by the general Igneous Arathor in some records, though his name is lost to most histories. Guided by elven magi, human battle mages learned to shape disciplined spellfire. Together, elves and men broke the Amani at the Battle of Quel'Thalas. The Trolls' empire collapsed, its remnants retreating into shadowed woods. This victory forged the first true alliance between mortal kingdoms and races, a partnership of courage and knowledge that echoed through every age that followed. The founding of Dalaran and the Council of Tirisfal. After the war, elven tutors honored their vow. They taught selected humans to harness the arcane responsibly. Under their guidance, human magi built the city of Dalaran, a beacon of scholarship in northern Arathor. Yet arcane use drew unwanted eyes. Demons of the Twisting Nether, sensing renewed magic on Azeroth, slipped through weak places between worlds. To counter them, the greatest mages created a secret order, the Council of Tirisfal. They chose one among them to bear the combined power of all, the Guardian of Tirisfal, a living bulwark against demonic intrusion. For nearly 2,000 years, that lineage safeguarded the world. This could imply that humanity's survival depended as much on hidden vigilance as on open strength, a pattern repeated across its history. The fragmenting of Arathor. Under Thoradin's heirs, Arathor expanded across the eastern kingdoms. New cities rose: Lordaeron, Gilneas, Kultiris, and Alterac. Prosperity bred distance, provinces drifted toward autonomy. When Strom's court finally moved north to Lordaeron, the old capital declined. The Empire of Arathor fractured into independent realms, each proud of its heritage but forgetful of shared origin. Even so, the ideal of unity, the dream kindled in the Troll Wars, remained a quiet ember in human memory. The High Elves and their human allies. In Quel'Thalas, the High Elves rebuilt among their ever-glowing spires. They honored the Sunwell, but their alliance with humanity endured in diplomacy and trade. Though they respected the human zeal, they viewed them as fleeting candles compared to elven longevity. Based on what we know, this subtle condescension sowed early tensions later felt within the alliance itself, an echo of the ancient highborn pride that once divided the Kaldore. The legacy of the First Alliance. The pact between Arathor and Quel'Thalas established the foundations of the Alliance of Lordaeron that would rise millennia later. Its guiding truths, discipline, faith, and cooperation originated here, among warriors who fought not for conquest but for survival. The High Elves' arcane mastery and humanity's resilience created a balance between intellect and will. Every kingdom that carried the banner of the Alliance afterward traced its lineage back to this union of sword and spell. Osha, quiet before the storm. As centuries passed, peace settled over the eastern kingdoms. Human cathedrals praised the light. Dwarves and gnomes delved beneath their mountains. Elves tended forests shimmering with eternal dawn. But beneath that calm, darker forces stirred, the slow decay of trust and whispers from worlds beyond the stars. The Age of Peace would end with the opening of a single burning gateway.
Section 4. Orcish Arrival and the First War. The World Beyond the Portal. Before the Horde ever marched on Azeroth, they were a people of another world. Far across the great dark beyond lay Draenor, a red-skied world of rolling plains and crystalline forests. Here lived the Orcs, a proud, shamanic race bound by tradition, clan and a deep reverence for their elemental spirits. Each clan followed its elders and shamans who communed with the spirits of fire, air, earth, and water. The orcs lived in harmony with the Draenei, the exiled Arathor who had fled the Burning Legion's grasp. For generations, the two peoples coexisted, wary but peaceful. That peace ended when the Legion found them. The corruption of Gul'dan. The demon lord Kil'jaeden, hunting for new soldiers to wage his endless war, discovered Draenor and took notice of the orcs' strength. Through deceit, he reached the mind of a cunning outcast shaman named Gul'dan, whispering promises of power beyond comprehension. Gul'dan abandoned the elements and embraced fell magic. Under Kil'jaeden's guidance, he founded the Shadow Council, spreading corruption across the clans through lies and manipulation. The Draenei, led by the noble prophet Velen, were blamed for the land's growing sickness. One by one, the orc clans united under a charismatic leader, War Chief Blackhand, guided in secret by Gul'dan's counsel. Thus was born the first horde, forged not from honor, but from fear. When the demon Manaroth spilled his blood into a great cauldron, Gul'dan told the chieftains that to drink would grant them unstoppable strength. Most obeyed. Their eyes burned green, their skin darkened, and their bloodlust could no longer be sated. Only a few, like Duratan of the Frostwolf clan and Orgrim Doomhammer, hesitated. Based on what we know, even then, some orcs felt the elemental spirit's silence and understood they had turned their backs on balance. Fire, the fall of Draenor's balance. The newly blood-bound horde waged war against the Draenei. Their villages were burned, their temples shattered. The orcs' once sacred plains ran red as the Legion's will was done through mortal hands. When the Draenei city of Shattertrath fell, the spirits of Draenor screamed and went silent. The world itself began to wither, its sky darkened by fell storms. The horde, though victorious, stood on dying soil. Their hunger for war had become their only truth, and Gul'dan was not finished with them. Gathing, the opening of the dark portal. Kil'jaeden withdrew, but another demon, Medivh, the guardian of Tirisfal on Azeroth, had fallen under the influence of Sargeras. Through dreams and visions, he reached across worlds, seeking a way to bring the Legion to Azeroth. Medivh's mind intertwined with Gul'dan's, and together they conceived a gateway between realms. Gul'dan's warlocks, aided by the necrolite Chagal and the Shadow Council, tore open the dark portal. A storm of fell energy split the veil between Draenor and Azeroth. Through that rift marched the first horde, thousands of orcs in iron and bone, bearing banners of red and black. They entered a green land of rivers and human cities, a world unprepared for what had come. X, the first war begins. The orcs' invasion struck the southern kingdom of Stormwind, a realm ruled by King Lane Wren, protected by Anduin Lothar and the young mage Khadgar. At first, the humans saw the orcs as beasts or raiders. But as warbands razed villages and left nothing but ash, it became clear that these were organized, disciplined armies. The horde crushed human outposts, enslaved the ogres of Azeroth, and built Blackrock Spire as their fortress. From there, War Chief Blackhand, a puppet of Gul'dan, directed the campaign to conquer the south. Despite heroic defense, the humans could not withstand the tide. Stormwind Keep fell to flames, King Lane was slain by the assassin Garona Halforken, and the survivors fled north across the sea. Anduin Lothar, bearing the crown of his fallen king, swore vengeance and set course for Lordaeron.
The First War ended in ruin, but its end was also a beginning. The blood of corruption. As Gul'dan lay comatose from the backlash of Medivh's death, the orcs realized their puppet master had betrayed them. Orgrim Doomhammer, disgusted by the Shadow Council's manipulation, slew Blackhand and seized command. He shattered Gul'dan's council and executed its warlocks, vowing to restore honor to the Horde. But the fell blood still coursed through their veins, binding them to the Legion's hunger, even as they sought freedom from it. This could imply that the Horde's history of internal struggle between the call of power and the pull of honor was born not on Azeroth, but on Draenor. Fire, the fall of Draenor's balance. The newly blood-bound Horde waged war against the Draenei. Their villages were burned, their temples shattered. The orcs' once sacred plains ran red as the Legion's will was done through mortal hands. When the Draenei city of Shattertrath fell, the spirits of Draenor screamed and went silent. The world itself began to wither, its sky darkened by fell storms. The Horde, though victorious, stood on dying soil. Their hunger for war had become their only truth, and Gul'dan was not finished with them. Gaving, the opening of the dark portal. Kil'jaeden withdrew, but another demon, Medivh, the guardian of Tirisfal on Azeroth, had fallen under the influence of Sargeras. Through dreams and visions, he reached across worlds, seeking a way to bring the Legion to Azeroth. Medivh's mind intertwined with Gul'dan's, and together they conceived a gateway between realms. Gul'dan's warlocks, aided by the Necrolite Chagall and the Shadow Council, tore open the dark portal. A storm of fell energy split the veil between Draenor and Azeroth. Through that rift marched the first Horde, thousands of orcs in iron and bone, bearing banners of red and black. They entered a green land of rivers and human cities, a world unprepared for what had come. X, the First War begins. The orcs' invasion struck the southern kingdom of Stormwind, a realm ruled by King Lane Wren, protected by Anduin Lothar and the young mage Khadgar. At first, the humans saw the orcs as beasts or raiders. But as warbands razed villages and left nothing but ash, it became clear that these were organized, disciplined armies. The Horde crushed human outposts, enslaved the ogres of Azeroth, and built Blackrock Spire as their fortress. From there, War Chief Blackhand, a puppet of Gul'dan, directed the campaign to conquer the south. Despite heroic defense, the humans could not withstand the tide. Stormwind Keep fell to flames, King Lane was slain by the assassin Garona Halforken, and the survivors fled north across the sea. Anduin Lothar, bearing the crown of his fallen king, swore vengeance and set course for Lordaeron. The First War ended in ruin, but its end was also a beginning. The blood of corruption. As Gul'dan lay comatose from the backlash of Medivh's death, the orcs realized their puppet master had betrayed them. Orgrim Doomhammer, disgusted by the Shadow Council's manipulation, slew Blackhand and seized command. He shattered Gul'dan's council and executed its warlocks, vowing to restore honor to the Horde. But the fell blood still coursed through their veins, binding them to the Legion's hunger, even as they sought freedom from it. This could imply that the Horde's history of internal struggle between the call of power and the pull of honor was born not on Azeroth, but on Draenor. Fire, the fall of Draenor's balance. The newly blood-bound Horde waged war against the Draenei. Their villages were burned, their temples shattered. The orcs' once sacred plains ran red as the Legion's will was done through mortal hands. When the Draenei city of Shattertrath fell, the spirits of Draenor screamed and went silent. The world itself began to wither, its sky darkened by fell storms. The Horde, though victorious, stood on dying soil. Their hunger for war had become their only truth, and Gul'dan was not finished with them. Gaving, the opening of the dark portal. Kil'jaeden withdrew, but another demon, Medivh.
Section 6. The Fall of the Alliance Kingdoms and the Rise of the New Horde. The Quiet Between Wars. After the Second War, the world fell into uneasy silence. The Alliance of Lordaeron stood triumphant yet fractured, its unity dissolving under the weight of pride and politics. The orcs who had once burned kingdoms to ash now languished behind wooden fences in internment camps across Lordaeron and Hillsbrad. Their green skin had faded to a dull hue, their eyes hollow, their spirits emptied. The blood of Manaroth, which once drove their fury, now cursed them with apathy. To the victors, it seemed justice. To the orcs, it was living death. Based on what we know, this period marked a strange inversion, the Alliance losing purpose in victory, and the Horde discovering identity in defeat. The fracturing of the Alliance. The nations that had united under Anduin Lothar now turned inward. Gilneas, under Gen Greymane, withdrew behind its walls, refusing to pay for orc internment. Kul Tiras, led by Admiral Dalen Proudmoore, refocused on its naval empire. Quel'Thalas, believing its debt repaid, distanced itself from human affairs. Alterac remained disgraced, its royal line hunted and scattered. Only Lordaeron, under King Tyrannus Menethil II, still upheld the Alliance ideal, tending refugees, maintaining the camps, and preserving the hope of shared governance. But even that hope flickered. The Alliance of Lordaeron was no longer a brotherhood. It was a bureaucracy held together by memories of war. The child of Frostwolves. Far away, in one of those internment camps near Durnhold Keep, an orc child grew in captivity. His name was Thrall, meaning slave in the tongue of men. He was the last son of Duratan and Draka, leaders of the Frostwolf clan, who had been murdered by the treacherous Shadow Council. Raised by the cruel human commander Aedalis Blackmore, Thrall was trained to be a gladiator, a weapon to entertain nobles. But within him burned something older than chains, the memory of the ancestors. Under the secret tutelage of Taretha Foxton, a kind-hearted human, Thrall learned compassion. And when the time came, he escaped into the wild. There, guided by the elements that had long been silent to his people, he met the aged shaman Drekthar of the Frostwolves. Through Drekthar, Thrall learned the truth of his heritage, that the orcs had once been a people of honor, not slaves to demons. When Thrall called upon the elements and they answered, for the first time since the corruption of Draenor, the spirits spoke again. It was the rebirth of shamanism and of hope. Blood of the Old Horde. Meanwhile, Orgrim Doomhammer, freed from captivity, wandered the eastern kingdoms in exile. He found Thrall among the Frostwolves and recognized in him the promise of a new beginning. Together, they journeyed across the camps, freeing orcs and rekindling pride where there had been only despair. Doomhammer fell in battle at the gates of one such camp, naming Thrall his successor with his dying breath. Wielding the Doomhammer and bearing the mantle of war chief, Thrall vowed to restore the Horde, not as conquerors, but as a people seeking redemption. This could imply that the Horde's rebirth was never meant as rebellion, but as remembrance, a return to balance lost long before the Legion's touch. Osiris, the new Horde rises.
Thrall's horde was not built on bloodlust, but on brotherhood. He united the scattered clans under one banner, the New Horde, founded on honor, shamanism, and respect for strength tempered by wisdom. Allies gathered to him. The Tauren of Mulgore, guided by Cairn Bloodhoof, who saw in Thrall's people the courage of ancient nomads. The Darkspear Trolls, rescued from exile and extinction on a jungle isle, who pledged their loyalty and gratitude. Even the spiritual Forsaken of later years would trace their philosophical kinship to this foundation, the search for purpose after ruin. Under Thrall's leadership, the Horde left the Eastern Kingdoms, sailing west across the Great Sea. Their destination, the wild shores of Kalimdor, a land whispered to hold refuge and destiny alike. Journey to Kalimdor. Guided by a vision from the mysterious prophet Medivh, Thrall sought to unite all peoples against a coming storm. He was told that the Burning Legion, the same demonic army that had once corrupted his ancestors, would soon return to destroy all life on Azeroth. On the voyage, Thrall's forces rescued Grommash Hellscream, his friend and fellow chieftain, whose reckless courage had long inspired Orcish hearts. Together, they landed upon Kalimdor's rugged coasts, unaware that fate would soon test them once more. The Wild War begins. On Kalimdor, Thrall encountered the Tauren, Cairn Bloodhoof, and through shared battle earned his trust. He also met the Night Elves, whose distrust of outsiders ran deep. At first, their meeting was marred by violence and misunderstanding, echoes of ancient wars repeating themselves. But when the Burning Legion truly arrived, led by Archimond the Defiler, the Horde, the Alliance remnants, and the Night Elves stood side by side at the Battle of Mount Hyjal. The united forces fought desperately to protect Nordrassil, the World Tree. When Archimond reached its roots, the Night Elves sacrificed their immortality to unleash its power, obliterating the demon and saving the world. Peace, the New Horde's creed. In the aftermath, Thrall founded the city of Orgrimmar in the deserts of Durotar, named in honor of his fallen mentor. From its gates spread a new creed, not conquest, but survival. Thrall taught that strength was not dominance, but harmony between rage and restraint. He restored the orcs' communion with the elements, rebuilding their honor from within. Under his guidance, the Horde became a refuge for the broken and the exiled. Trolls, Tauren, and later Forsaken, Blood Elves, Goblins, and others. Each found belonging where the world had cast them aside. Based on what we know, Thrall's vision of the Horde as a sanctuary for the outcast was revolutionary, not born from power, but from empathy, rooted in the memory of chains. The hope of the Alliance. As the Horde rebuilt, so too did the Alliance, though not without loss. The Scourge, born from the corruption of Lordaeron, had destroyed the northern kingdoms. Arthas Menethil, the fallen prince, became a Death Knight and slew his own father, shattering the last unity of the human realms. The surviving kingdoms, Stormwind, Ironforge, and Darnassus, began to weave new bonds. Their faith in the light endured, even as shadows deepened. Thus, the modern alliance rose from ashes, mirroring the rebirth of the Horde, each shaped by ruin, each clinging to purpose. Gold the new age reflects. The world had changed. The old hatred that once burned between orc and man was replaced by something quieter, more complex, understanding born of shared suffering. The new Horde no longer marched for conquest, and the Alliance no longer stood simply for dominance. They had become symbols of resilience, of ideology, of identity. And as the fires of the Third War cooled, both factions stood before an uncertain dawn. Two survivors of endless conflict, breathing the same air, dreaming of peace, knowing it could never last.
Section 8. The Modern Era: War, Cataclysm, and Broken Trust. After the Third War. The fires of Mount Hyjal had barely cooled when Azeroth took its first uneasy breath of peace. In the west, the Horde, reborn under Warchief Thrall, built its capital of Orgrimmar in the harsh red earth of Durotar, a city forged from struggle and hope. In the east, the Alliance reclaimed Stormwind, now ruled by King Varian Wrynn, who sought to restore the legacy of Lothar and Menethil. For a time, there was coexistence, if not trust. Caravans crossed Baron's Dust and Wetland Swamp alike. Diplomats spoke of armistice, though their words rarely reached soldiers on the frontier. Based on what we know, this was an age of rebuilding and redefinition, both factions testing what it meant to be righteous after so much sin. Gear, the age of exploration and reforging. The world itself grew wider. Explorers sailed to lost lands, and ancient Titan vaults stirred beneath mountain and sand. The Horde welcomed the Forsaken, led by Sylvanas Windrunner, who claimed the ruins of Lordaeron as the Undercity. Her people promised loyalty to Thrall, but their methods, plaguecraft, shadow alchemy, troubled their allies. The Alliance expanded too. The Night Elves, once aloof guardians of Kalimdor, joined Stormwind in solidarity. The Dwarves of Ironforge delved deeper into their titanic past. The Gomes fought to reclaim Norrigan from toxic ruin. Across the sea, the Blood Elves struggled to survive after the loss of the Sunwell. Many turned to fell magic and later to the Horde, finding in Thrall's vision a mirror of their own exile. This was the world of the first adventurers, a time of rediscovery when heroes from both factions ventured into forgotten depths not for glory, but to mend a broken world. The Burning Crusade. When the Dark Portal reopened, its emerald light flooded the blasted lands once more. Beyond it lay Outland, the shattered remnant of Draenor. Both factions crossed its threshold, the Alliance seeking justice against the Legion, the Horde seeking their ancestral home. Thrall met the Mughar, the uncorrupted orcs of Nagrand, and among them stood the young Garrosh Hellscream, son of Grommash. Garrosh, burdened by his father's shame, found new pride in Thrall's teachings. But within him smoldered a different fire, one that yearned not for balance, but for glory. This could imply that the Horde's struggle for honor was already dividing into two paths, Thrall's peace and Garrosh's power. Ice, Wrath of the Lich King. From the icy continent of Northrend, a familiar darkness called. The Lich King, Arthas Menethil, had merged with the Helm of Dominion and now ruled the Scourge as a single will. Both the Alliance and Horde sailed north, not as enemies, but as rivals in purpose. They fought side by side in the frozen citadel of Icecrown, where the man who had once been a prince met his end by the blade of his friend and lover, Janus' tears falling on the snow. When the Lich King was defeated, the Death Knight Bolvar Fordragon took the helm, sacrificing himself to contain the Scourge. And so the Age of Undeath ended in silence, a reminder that sacrifice was the only currency Azeroth ever accepted. Flood, the Cataclysm. But peace did not last. From beneath the earth, the corrupted dragon aspect, Deathwing the Destroyer, erupted from Deepholm, shattering the world. Mountains split, seas rose, and Azeroth was remade in fire. In the chaos, Thrall abdicated as warchief, choosing to serve the Earthen Ring as a shaman to heal the world's wounds. He named Garrosh Hellscream his successor, a decision born of hope but shadowed by fate. Garrosh rebuilt Orgrimmar in iron and spike, casting aside Thrall's ideals for a horde of dominion and pride. His aggression reignited wars across Kalimdor and the Eastern Kingdoms. The Alliance, now united under the returned King Varian Wrynn, answered in kind. Battles raged from Ashenvale's forests to Theramor's harbor. Trust, already scarce, crumbled entirely.
Based on what we know, the cataclysm was not only a rupture of earth, but of philosophy, a breaking of the balance between honor and ambition. The Siege of Theramore. In a single act of devastation, Garrosh ordered the destruction of Theramore, the neutral city founded by Jaina Proudmoore. A mana bomb annihilated it, leaving only a crater and a scar that never healed. The act transformed Jaina, once the bridge between factions, into a symbol of rage and loss. She vowed never again to trust the Horde. To many within the Alliance, this was the final proof that peace was a myth. To others within the Horde, it was the moment their leader became a tyrant. The heart of the Horde. The wars of the Cataclysm culminated in the Siege of Orgrimmar. The rebellious factions of the Horde, led by Vol'jin and aided by the Alliance, rose against Garrosh's dictatorship. When the siege ended, Garrosh was defeated and imprisoned. Vol'jin was named war chief, marking a brief return to Thrall's ideals of honor and community. But the wounds were deep. The Horde had torn itself apart. The Alliance had learned victory without peace. This could imply that the cataclysm was not Deathwings alone. It was a cataclysm of trust, shattering the belief that the two factions could ever truly understand each other. Rebuilding in ashes. When the earth finally stilled, Azeroth was forever changed. Mountains had shifted, coasts had fallen, and so too had the certainty of heroes. Thrall returned to his people as a shaman, not a war chief. Jaina rebuilt her city in the floating spires of Dalaran, but her heart remained heavy. Varian Wrynn strengthened the Alliance militarily, preparing for inevitable war. And in the shadows beneath Orgrimmar, Sylvanas brooded, her eyes fixed north toward the frozen throne, where another crown still waited. Reflections of a fractured world. By the end of the cataclysm, the world stood rebuilt but unhealed. The Alliance and Horde remained locked in a cycle of vengeance disguised as duty. Thrall's dream of balance had become a memory, Garrosh's dream of dominion a nightmare. And yet, in the ashes of Theramore and the ruins of Orgrimmar, some still believed peace could be rebuilt from understanding. Based on what we know, the true legacy of this era was not victory or loss, but realization that no faction could rule the world without first healing it. Moon, an age of reckoning. As the fires of Deathwing's wrath dimmed, the two factions stood in the glow of a new dawn, each seeing the other through smoke and memory. The Alliance vowed to protect what remained. The Horde vowed to prove its honor once more. But beneath those vows, the world still trembled. A world not yet healed, still scarred by what it had survived. And though the cataclysm had ended, the real storm, the one within hearts and histories, had only just begun.
Section 10. Legacy of Factions and the Enduring World. The Threads that Remain. From the frozen halls of Northrend to the deserts of Durotar, from the green plains of Elwyn to the broken cliffs of Outland, Azeroth endures. Empires rise and crumble, kings fall, dragons awaken, and gods whisper from shadowed stars, yet always the world persists. The banners of the Alliance and the Horde still flutter, though time has changed what they represent. They are not merely colors on cloth, but living symbols, reflections of what every race, every hero, and every lost soul has fought for since the dawn of history: belonging. Based on what we know, that is Azeroth's truest legacy. Not victory, but the endless search for a place where one's heart can rest. The heart of the Alliance. The Alliance began not as a nation, but as an oath, a promise shared across firelight when the world was falling apart. From Thoradin's first union with the elves of Quel'Thalas, through Lothar's last stand at Blackrock Mountain, to Anduin Wrenn's gentle resolve, the Alliance has always been the shield of order and faith.
In their cities, Stormwind's spires, Ironforge's forges, and Darnassus's now vanished bows, the light has been both guide and burden. Their history is carved in courage and regret, the desire to protect often shadowed by the fear of losing control. Every generation of the Alliance has wrestled with the same truth, that goodness alone is not enough to hold the world together. It requires sacrifice, compassion, and sometimes forgiveness that feels like surrender. This could imply that the Alliance's greatest strength has never been its armies, but its willingness to hope, even after hope has failed. Fire, the soul of the Horde. The Horde began in chains, born from corruption, reshaped by survival, and reborn through compassion. Where once it was a weapon, it became a refuge for outcasts, for nomads, for any soul who needed a tribe. Under Thrall, the Horde remembered what it meant to live with the earth rather than against it. Under Cairn, it learned patience. Under Vol'jin, honor. Under Sylvanas, defiance. And though each warchief left scars, they also left wisdom, lessons carved into the collective spirit of a people who refuse to break. The Horde's creed is not conquest, it is endurance. It is the whisper that says, "You are not alone." Based on what we know, the Horde's story is not of villains redeemed or heroes fallen, but of survival turned into strength, a kind of beauty only suffering can teach. Peace, the balance between. There are moments in Azeroth's history when the line between the factions blurred, when soldiers laid down blades to fight together beneath a single sky. The battle for Mount Hyjal, the siege of Orgrimmar, the defense of Azeroth against the Legion, all reminders that the world itself cares little for banners. And yet, when peace returns, the old walls rise again. Perhaps that is how it must be. Because the Alliance and the Horde do not exist to destroy one another, they exist to define one another. Without the Alliance's order, the Horde's freedom would descend into chaos. Without the Horde's passion, the Alliance's discipline would ossify into apathy. Together, they form the heartbeat of Azeroth, two sides of the same pulse. This could imply that their endless war is not a curse, but a rhythm, the world breathing through conflict and calm, loss and renewal. The weight of immortals. The gods of Azeroth have always watched in silence, titans, old ones, Loa, and dragons. They move the tides, shift the stars, and sometimes whisper to mortals. Yet it is not their power that keeps the world alive. It is the choices of the small, the nameless foot soldiers in gold and red, the healer who stays behind when the gates close, the farmer who prays to the light even as the sky burns. The immortals build ages, the mortals give them meaning. And so, based on what we know, the factions are not merely armies of kings and generals. They are living stories of every person who ever believed they could make a difference, even when no one was watching. Echoes of the past. Every war leaves echoes. In the haunted woods of Tirisfal, whispers of fallen soldiers still drift through mist. In the sands of Tanaris, the bones of dragons lie beside the wreckage of Gomish airships. In Ashenvale, old arrowheads glint beneath moss, forgotten by the night elves who first raised their bows. Each of these relics is a reminder that the world is a palimpsest, written and rewritten by the hands of countless generations. And though each age believes itself new, it merely sings the same song in another key. Ocean, the cycle of renewal. When Deathwing tore the sky, it was not the end of Azeroth. When the Legion fell, it was not peace everlasting. When the jailer broke death itself, the world still healed. And when the Dragon Isles rose again, it was proof that even the oldest wounds can become seeds for something new. Azeroth is not a place, It is a process. It is rebirth disguised as ruin, dawn painted over dusk. The Alliance and Horde have simply been its instruments, the rhythm by which the world remembers to change. Base, the age of reflection. In the current age, there are no true villains left, only perspectives. Anduin's quiet faith, Thrall's humility, Jaina's forgiveness, and Bane's empathy all mark a new era where war has become memory, not destiny. Both factions now understand that survival is shared, even if peace is not. They coexist not because of treaties, but because of time, because exhaustion has taught them what philosophy could not. This could imply that the greatest evolution of Azeroth's story is not the end of war, but the birth of wisdom. The moment when hatred becomes history instead of prophecy. The legacy of factions. At the heart of it all lies a paradox. The Alliance and Horde are enemies who have saved each other more than once. They destroy to defend and defend to destroy. Their leaders come and go, but their ideals endure, shifting like tides between pride and regret. In their rivalry, Azeroth finds purpose. In their brief truces, it finds peace. In their persistence, it finds meaning. And perhaps in that balance lies the world's truest magic. Not arcane, not holy, but human. Z, the endless dawn. When the last battle is fought and the banners are lowered, Azeroth will still turn beneath the stars. The forests will regrow, the seas will calm, and the wind will whisper the same stories to a new generation. Somewhere, a child of Stormwind will hear tales of heroes who stood against darkness. Somewhere else, a young orc will look toward the sky and feel proud in a people once cursed but now free. And as those stories are told again, around fires, in taverns, or in dreams, the factions will live on, not as enemies, but echoes of courage, unity, and the will to endure. Monk, Epilogue, Azeroth Dreams. In the silence after centuries of war, the world sleeps. Its heartbeat slows, its skies shimmer with dragonfire, and the voices of gods fade into the horizon. But the dream remains, that somewhere beneath banners long faded, two adventurers from opposite sides of history share a quiet moment, watching dawn spill across the world they both call home. Because in the end, that has always been Azeroth's secret. There is no enemy, only the reflection of what we fear and what we hope to become. And so, as the echoes of Azeroth fade into the quiet of the night, as the banners lower and the world exhales beneath the stars, let your thoughts drift with them. For every story told across this world, every kingdom risen, every heart broken, every vow kept, becomes part of something larger than war or history. It becomes part of you. Close your eyes. The drums of battle are far away now. Only the wind remains, whispering through Elwyn's trees, brushing across the dunes of Durotar, and sighing over Northrend's endless snow. The light still burns, faint but steady. The spirits still answer, gentle as breath. And Azeroth, ever turning, ever dreaming, hums softly beneath it all. If you found peace here tonight, if this journey helped you rest or remember or simply breathe a little slower, thank you for wandering these stories with me. If you'd like to hear more tales whispered from other worlds, more myths to drift away to, more secrets beneath the stars, you can always find me here at Pixel